Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight to Community Board 11 Zoning Committee. My name is Lori, I'm the chair, and this is Marnie, our district manager. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed to our YouTube channel, so anyone who is not here can view it later. We have two items for tonight. One is a public hearing, and the other one is a presentation. When it comes time for the public hearing, we're going to ask that speakers keep their comments to 2 minutes. The first item of order is Blue Point Win by Eric Henry and Lisa Ward, thank you. They're an offshore wind developer which plans to build an offshore wind farm within its ocean lease area located 38 nautical miles off the coast of New York and 53 nautical miles off the coast of New Jersey. So we're going to hand it right over to you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Marnie, for having us, and thank you all for coming out this evening. As Lori mentioned, we are from Blue Point Wind. We are an offshore wind developer with a lease area off the coast of New York and New Jersey. We're here to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with our project, introduce you to what the project is, what it might look like when it gets off of the ground, what the current status of offshore wind is in the state of New York generally, and answer any questions that you might have. So we look forward to talking to you tonight. We won't have a very long presentation for you this evening. We'll run through some slides, but we're very open to hearing any feedback or any questions that you might have.
Great. So thank you again for everyone for coming out tonight. So my name is Lisa, and I'm the External Affairs Manager and Community Engagement Lead for the project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start us off by having a little bit of an intro to our project, and then I'm going to kick it over to my colleague, Eric, to share how this community may or may not be impacted by their project. So first, I'll start off by saying our project is called Blue Point Wind, but our parent company is called Ocean Winds. And so Ocean Winds is actually a developer that's been doing offshore wind for over 15 years worldwide, and renewable energy for it's a joint venture between two European companies that have been doing renewable energy for about 50 years. Currently in the United States, Ocean Winds has 3 projects to its name. We have up in New England, South Coast Wind, which is a project that just bid into a New England solicitation to provide clean energy to either Connecticut, Massachusetts, or Rhode Island. And then we have, of course, which I mentioned, Blue Point Wind, which is a joint venture between Ocean Winds, our parent company, and GIP, which is Global Infrastructure Partners, and that's a financier, but Ocean Wind is the managing partner of that project. And then over in California, we have another project called Golden State Winds, and that project is really exciting because it's a little bit different than the projects here on the East Coast, which will be fixed to the seabed. That's going to be a floating offshore wind project, and so that's a very new technology. But those are 3 of our projects that we have existing in the United States, and we have a portfolio of projects overseas. So let me talk a little bit about Blue Point Wind. So Blue Point Wind is a project that's located right there all the way to the edge of the screen. It's the light blue sort of Tetris-shaped object out in the ocean. The other areas that are in the darker blue are other lease areas. Our project is it's over 70,000 acres out in the ocean. So while it looks tiny, it's actually a big area. In that project area, we'll be able to build out a project that can provide up to 900,000 homes with clean energy. And so right now we don't have anything built, but our goal is to bid into a solicitation, one of the upcoming solicitations in New York or New Jersey or both. Our project is also very, very far compared to the other lease areas. As you can see, we're way out there, being 53 miles off the coast of New Jersey and 38 off the coast of New York. So we like to say about our project, it's Blue Point Wind, you'll never see us. But we want you to feel the impact of our project, and that's one of the ways that we are going to be engaging with communities. We're all about transparency and sharing with you what's going on with our project, which someone asked earlier, why are you here? Clean energy is a good thing. Well, we're here because we want communities to know what we're doing. So one of the exciting things about our project, we always talk about it in terms of the energy that we're going to generate. We say 1.7 gigawatts, which to be frank, means nothing to me because I'm not an electrician or an engineer. But when you translate it into over 900,000 homes annually with clean energy, or the equivalent of taking over 1 million gas-powered cars off the road each year, then you start to understand the impact of that project. And so that's one of our goals, is to impact New York and New Jersey with clean energy and the benefits that this industry brings. Now, these projects are not small projects to do. As you can see on our timeline here, we're just in the planning and development stages, and that timeline is a long timeline. Why is it such a long timeline? Well, because these are very thoughtful projects. The lease areas that we have on here are leased out by the federal government. It's leased out by the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. And before they even get to us, they do rigorous studies to make sure that they're cross-checking it with the areas that they're leasing with the Department of Defense. They're looking at shipping lanes. They are looking at marine mammal migratory routes, birds migratory routes, and so that there's the least impact to the environment that could possibly be. And then, only then do they auction off the lease areas. But even once we get the lease areas, we ourselves have to do studies to investigate the seabed, the topography, to make sure that we can actually build and we can do so sustainably. And so that takes years, and that's why we're smack dab in that middle of that 5-year cycle. And as a part of that cycle, we have to submit a construction and operations plan to the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, detailing all the ways that we plan to build, the routes where we're going to lay our cables to connect onshore to provide the energy. And so that's one of the reasons we meet with communities, because we want to share with you the potential routes where our project will be leading into, and then to make sure that there's no impact, and if there's any impact, we can mitigate for that in advance. Next slide, Eric. And so I'm going to turn over to my colleague Eric to talk about visibility.
Thank you, Lisa. So Lisa mentioned that we are so far off in the distance, 38 nautical miles off the coast of New York. Really, if anyone goes to Moses, Fire Island, if you stand on the beach of Moses Field 5, which I love to go to, you won't be able to see turbines spinning in the water. Only if you go to Montauk Lighthouse and you stand on the very top of the lighthouse, you will see the very tippy top of one of our turbines from the shoreline. So it's a very negligible viewshed. So if anyone's concerned about seeing the turbine spinning from the water, obstructing your view of the beach, our project will have absolutely none of those negative impacts to your day whatsoever. So what brings us here to you today, to CB11? So in order for us to get our power from our offshore turbines to electrical substations, converter stations in Brooklyn, one at Gowanus, and then one at the Clean Energy Hub in Farragut, we would need to basically route through city streets to get from designated landing sites onshore, where our cables would meet from our turbines onto a designated spot on the shoreline, and then route through city streets to get up to both of those locations at Gowanus and the Clean Energy Hub. What would this look like on a day-to-day basis? If you've ever seen if you've ever seen Con Ed working in the right-of-way, working in the city streets, it would look akin to that. If you've ever seen Optimum or Verizon working in the city streets to lay fiber optic cable or cable infrastructure in the street, it would look exactly like that. The impact to CB11 is that we have identified a location on Bay Parkway where we would need to make landfall, basically make that interconnection from our offshore turbines to the onshore electrical grid. And so there would be some construction involved in basically creating that interconnect to plug into the electrical grid in New York City. So what would this look like? Could you, next slide? Thank you. So here we see a zoom in of CB11. The landfall site would be at Bay Parkway. It would go up heading north to Cropsey, turn left over on Cropsey. It would then hang a right all the way over to 17th, go up on 17th, and then back over heading west on, I believe that's 85th. 85th, yes, 85th Street. We are here tonight because we wanted to engage with community residents early and often, even though there is a very small chance that we will actually need to do any of this. So the current state of offshore wind in New York State is that the governor is launching solicitations for offshore wind developers such as Blue Point Wind to offer their power into the state. These solicitations average maybe once a year or so. I believe the first one started in 2018 or 2020. But all of this is dependent on Blue Point Wind actually bidding into one of those solicitations for New York State and then actually winning a solicitation for New York State. The governor has to believe that we are viable and that we can actually deliver our power into New York State. So those are a couple of variables that kind of will dictate whether or not we'll actually be able to do this project. In addition, the state is looking into taking this electrical transmission project off the hands of developers, offshore wind developers completely, and placing them in the hands of electrical transmission developers that actually do this sort of work for a living. But in the case that that's not realized, that those awards never really materialize, each offshore wind developer like Blue Point Wind is thinking about how we could make this process as seamless for communities as possible with minimal disruption to their everyday lives. Yeah, this is a close-up of what it would actually look like. I know it kind of looks rather abstract, but again, when I mentioned that it would look like any other utility construction project in the streets, in the right-of-way, we're looking at a duct bank about 5 foot deep into the streets, laying 2 cables. Each would be around 11 inches wide in a duct bank, burying that 5 feet deep, and then sealing the pavement, sealing the concrete above. It would look exactly like the right-of-way the streets look like currently, if not maybe hopefully a little better, and with a few extra manholes every few feet or so. And that's a close-up of what the actual electrical cable would look like that would transmit the power. Yep, I believe that's our presentation. The slides were really, really brief. We didn't want to inundate you with too much information, but we'd love to ask for any feedback or questions that you might have.
Sure. Where the cables terminate from sea to land,
Yeah.
are you building a substation there?
Yeah, so.
And how big would the substation be?
How deep?
No, substation.
How large would it be?
Yes.
That's a good question. Almost had it. So a substation would be required to convert the energy from DC back into AC, so make it compatible with the grid. I'm not quite sure how large the substation would need to be. We could definitely follow up with Marnie and Lori in terms of the average dimensions and sizing. Yeah. So we would need to obviously find a parcel, either own or lease, long-term lease, in order for that to happen. Yeah. Great question. Thank you. Oh, can we go back to the map, Lisa?
Instead of coming in here at Bay Parkway and making all this construction, can't you come in through Bay 8th or Owl's Head and avoid us?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we did some surveying, some geotechnical, geophysical surveying, and based upon the topography of the shoreline, we've identified that particular site as being kind of the best way to make landfall. Part of the construction process would be drilling. And so to drill from the onshore into the ocean, you would need just the right amount of conditions that would make it amenable for drilling.
I understand there'll be drilling and all of that, and that's exactly my point. ask the company to just go through Bay 8 Park. The construction won't interfere with anyone.
Yeah.
I understand this is better, but that might not be so bad.
So you mentioned Bay Park?
No, from here to Bay 8 Street Park.
Through here to Bay Street Park, okay.
It's that park, that green thing right next to you.
Gotcha.
Okay, walk over, you'll see, if you stretch your hand out, it's right there. Right there.
This one?
Bingo, yes.
Gotcha.
You could just construct right through there, or go even further around to Owl's Head,
Okay,
because they already seem to have a substation of some kind.
okay. Great, thank you. So this is exactly what we need, exactly what we're looking for. This all helps inform our construction permits that we would need to apply to the federal government for. So as many community-fed routes and alternatives, we would need to place in our construction operations plan to help dictate next steps. So this is extremely helpful. Sure.
Could you, just to help us to understand, indicate some of, what are the inconveniences? You're saying it would be sort of inconvenient.
We don't have to name many, just one, construction.
Just, well,
We don't have to name many, just one,
Just
construction.
okay.
Parking, the traffic.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Did you consult with the Department of Design and Construction before opting for this route? And I ask that because there are major sewer projects for that whole area, from Bay Parkway all the way through the Bay Streets in the out years.
So we consulted with Brooklyn DOT around around the short-term and long-term master plans and construction projects within the right-of-way for this particular area. We engaged very early on with the mayor's office of sustainability around just kind of wholesale what construction might involve throughout New York City just in general.
Yeah.
But if you're saying that DDC is a party that we should definitely link with, then we
Yeah,
should definitely.
because there's approximately, off the top of my head,
Sure.
without it in front of me.
Sure.
There's probably 20 blocks in there.
Okay.
That's part of a capital project. It's really in pre-design
Okay.
at this point.
Okay.
So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Awesome. Okay. Terrific. Thank you.
Just to follow up. That neighborhood right there has had a major problem with the sewage. I'll be honest, for me, the last thing I need is you in there. Okay? They're trying to resolve that for years, so maybe you could just avoid the whole thing and bypass that.
That's helpful. That's what I was kind of getting at with the question too. Right. We just want to understand, like, what are some of the sensitive issues that we're not familiar with? So the more you can relate that, the more you relate to us knowing your community, the more we can take that into consideration with our planning.
If it does end up where Owl's Head is a possibility, you're going to bypass CB10's 10th Avenue sewer project. That's a major project.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? You have to get up.
Hi, good evening. So I understand your company is fairly new. There's a lot of wind companies. Are they also looking at the same thing you guys are, or you don't know?
So I can't attest for what every other developer is doing. I would say that for Blue Point, we definitely wanted to kind of take a very thoughtful look at this at a very early stage. As Lisa mentioned, we're in the very early stages. We're, I believe, year 3 of this very long-term project. So I'm not sure, I can't attest to what other developers are doing, but I do know for us, we are seriously thinking about, things like construction impact, noise, traffic, when thinking about if we were able, under these ideal circumstances, to have a presence in the community, what that would mean for local residents. So I can only test for Blue Point, but if I would say that that's something that every developer should be looking at if the state-sponsored solution doesn't manifest.
Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you, Eric and Lisa. For
Thank
coming
you
out
all
tonight.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on now to our public hearing, which is for Talmud Torah. The address are 1679 63rd Street and 1680 62nd Street, Block 5531, Lot 38. The applicant is seeking a special permit to allow a school in an M1-1 zoning district, and variances for the proposed floor area and bulk, proposed maximum height of front wall, required front setbacks, sky exposure plane, and proposed rear yard equivalent for a through lot contrary to zoning. Mr. Friedman is here representing the applicant, and he is going to provide an overview of the proposal.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. Okay. Okay. You want to start? Whoops. Oh, there we go. Okay. So as was announced, the address is 1680 62nd Street and 1679 63rd Street. It's a through lot. We go from 62nd to 63rd Street. It's right off, it's like 100 feet off 17th Avenue, so it's really next to the residential portion of the building, of the area, because across the street on 17th Avenue is all residential, and there are residential buildings along 17th Avenue. So it's a residential type use which fits into, just happens to be in the M1 zone. As of right, the building could be built as a community facility. It's just that when you go for a school, you need to have a special permit because you have to be within 400 feet of a zone in which this would be permitted in, and that would be the R5 zone. So there are many community facilities in that neighborhood also, and the residential character is mostly 1 and 2 families with a couple of multi-families, and there's an existing 3-story building adjacent to the property on 62nd Street. Okay, go to the next one. This is more important, the map. So as you see over here, our site, where the 400-foot, the long one, is on the north side of 17th Avenue. First of all, the height of the total height of the building complies with all the zoning. It's only because a little piece in the front is in the setback that we're requesting those waivers. There's a drawing later on to show it a little bit better. But it's on the north side, and all the sun comes from the south. Go back once. Yeah. The sun always comes from the south in the northern hemisphere. So it doesn't block any of the residential buildings' light and air at all. Okay, now you can go to the next. This is a little bit of an overview of the site. Next. So there's an existing high 1-story building, and it's a warehouse where trucks were, I believe it was for drug jerry care. Yeah. My father, blessed memory, he was the architect for that building. He did the work, and they put in a mezzanine many years ago. So that building had trucks coming all the time, a whole day. Here, there'll be very few, because the children come in the morning, they all come by bus, they're coming off 17th Avenue, and there's a dismissal in the afternoon. During the rest of the day, this building will not generate any traffic. Go ahead. A couple of the pictures of the existing building, which we're taking down because it just didn't pay. It was cheaper to rebuild. Go. You wanna, can you do it? Will it work? We have a little bit of a movie over here, if it will work. No? Go inside. There. See the little arrow? Right over there. There you go. Just wanted to give you just an overview of the whole of the area. This way you can feel like you're actually there. As you see, we're right off 17th Avenue. There's a new building being built on the corner. Okay, now. So once again, the proposal to construct a new three-story school. The proposed development is a 2.63 FAR floor area ratio. As of right, you would be allowed 2.4. We tried as much as we could to try and fit it in, but we just needed a little bit more room. The required rear yard, because it's a through lot, is 40 feet in the center. And again, we tried, we needed another 5 feet in the middle. You don't even see that part from the street. And it's a fireproof building. There's we're trying not to do much excavation over there. So we're going to keep there's two existing cellars, one on 62nd Street, one on 63rd Street. Small utility cellars, which we're going to keep. So there's very little excavation is going to go on. And we believe we're in character with the neighborhood. It's only a three-story building, and the roof recreation will only be used during school hours. There's nothing going on there at night, and multiple entrances on both streets allow the students to enter and exit the building quickly, and so that there'll be less disruption of traffic. Okay, so this is the building. That's 17th Avenue. That first 20 feet is within 100 feet of so there's no required rear yard. That's why we have the U. In the center, where it says 1 story, is the rear yard. The first story is not counted in rear yard, so that we had to leave that 1 story in the middle. Go ahead. This is just the layout of the first floor. Go. Second floor. Third floor, which is smaller. And that back, that's the roof. Okay. The facade on 62nd Street, 63rd Street. That's the building massing that you can see, but more interesting is the next one. Those red areas are actually what we're requesting as our waivers. The building, the total height of the building is permitted as of right. It's just we needed a little bit more room in the front and a little room in the middle. That's the whole project. Okay. Any questions? Yeah.
Thank you. So at this point, I would like to up to the community board 11. No, well, let's do the public. Do we have anybody here from the public who would like to make a comment or has any questions from the public? No one from the public? Yes, you're the public? You would like to say something? You need to come up because we're on YouTube. You need to come up because we're on YouTube.
The camera. We have a camera.
Well, I'm the neighbor. It's just next door. My house actually located at 17th Avenue. So I think the building, this building, I noticed it will be behind my house. So I noticed when my, how to say it, my house is 6204, but I think it's 6212 17th Avenue. It used to be as a auto repair shop. It's a garage though. After that, they built up I noticed they have a school there. So since the building raised it, they have so many rats. It's just like come out of the nowhere. That's just great. Yes. 17th, I'm not sure when these things happen during the construction work, because you're digging all this concrete. Yeah, the rats. And the dust, it's enormous dust. It's really, really dirty, and we don't know who the landlord is. And so far, I still have I got a violation ticket from Department of Consumer. I still have 2 tickets. So that's my biggest concern. And I noticed that during the school school hours, they have a school bus, basically literally just block the whole block, because the kids, they have to go to the bus or whatever. And because the traffic, actually it's very very busy street, and the street is not that wide, so it's kind of a lot of time is congested. And on top of that, because in the corner of the school, they have the car rental shop. It's called Lucky. It's over there. So it's like have a lot of traffic there, which we don't mind. And we notice that they have quite a bit of accident as well. It happens all the time. And my biggest concern is just like all these animals come from nowhere. It's really not. That's affect your healthy things like that. And not mention when the building is raised up, it's blocked entire light. We don't have a sun anymore. It used to be the backyard have a sun or this thing, but now we couldn't really enjoy that, at all. So that's just not, that's really affect our life. Day-to-day life, since this new building. But I think this is because behind us. So. Yeah, we are the resident.
No. This building? It's not this building.
That's not this building. This is near the.
Yes.
We're the
this
next
one?
door. That's not. We are here.
Yeah, but which building are you speaking of?
We're living here. This building. I don't think so. I'm not sure for the because I'm not sure.
On there, where would it be?
That's, I think it's behind us. Because here, I think our house.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just, I'm not sure
Yeah.
exactly. I can't really see. I think it's.
I see.
I'm sorry?
What's your address?
Our
Okay, so again, this building is behind, there wouldn't be any light. Again, we're not trying not to do any excavation, so, I mean, there'll be a little bit, like 4 feet deep just to put in the column footings, but this is going to be a little bit easier on the neighborhood and construction by not digging down deep and bothering people and disturbing the wildlife. Okay.
Anybody else from the public? Is from the public? You need to come up. Otherwise, they can't hear you.
I'm sorry if my English is not the best English, but I am from the public. I live next block on 62nd. And my name is Mr. Baumgarten. And I will say that I'm more than happy that the school is coming over there. And I will tell you why. It used to be, a food distribution used to be there. And used to be a lot of garbage. And right now, because the buildings are empty, and there's a car shop, a body shop next to it, they are dumping all the cars around. And there's a lot of activity going at night, illegal activity, because it's quiet, no one is there, this building is empty, it's deserted. And we had issues, we had to call the police all the time. So what's going on? And you can see on the picture here, one of the pictures she took, you can see cars are parked on the sidewalk. And it used to happen nightly. They used to park on the sidewalk, the neighborhood wasn't safe. So I would be more than happy if another school comes here, it will pick up the neighborhood, it would make the neighborhood much nicer. And even for the parking spots, the body shop wouldn't be able to dump all those cars. And I'm happy for it, and I think it should be a good thing for the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have anybody else from the public? Anyone else from the public, non-CB? Going once, going twice? Can I have a motion to close? Oh, did you want to say something? Oh.
Hi, my name is Jacob. I'm a neighbor on 63rd, 15 and 16. In regards to the rats and all the stuff, all this does not relate to the waiver, what they're asking here. It's because if you do commercial, you do construction, and it's much worse because the school, with the kids, they're always much more taking care of the garbage and exterminating. They're not gonna let rats run between the kids, and we have the health department and all this taking care of that. And the same is in regards to the traffic. The more commercial is going out, the less trucks are coming in the morning and the day and the afternoon. And as you can see in the other schools in the neighborhood, they work always with all the neighbors, the commercial and the residential, to work out when to close the street and how to do the buses. And the communication, the cooperation that's being worked out in the neighborhood has been changed since some schools have come in that neighborhood. So as a neighbor, we support the school over there. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have anyone else from the public? Going once? Going twice? Okay, I'm closing the public. I have a motion to close. Sal, Jeff, all in favor? Okay. Now, at this point, I'm going to open it up to Community Board 11 members for questions to the applicant. Does anyone have a question for the applicant? Come up.
Should I face the camera? No. So you say it's, there's a lot of illegal activity. Somebody said that. A lot of night. Do you think that's going to change? The school's going to be closed at night. Is there going to be a difference?
Good afternoon. My name is Rabbi Singer, and I'm I'm the applicant, represented by Mr. Friedman. And what he tried to mention, it's a deserted area. It's run down. When we put up this facade and this block with the lighting over there, it's not going to be a dumping area. When you pass by now over there, there's cars literally parked on the streets over there. It looks like a dumping yard. So when you put up this facade and you care about your building and you make sure that it's well lit up, it's going to eliminate his problem.
Thank you. Claudia, 3, they said, 3 floors. It's 1 story, 2 buildings.
It's a high one-story. I don't remember. It's most probably about 40 feet, about 30 feet right now. We don't have, it's a warehouse building that has an intermediate,
Right, okay.
yeah.
Okay. You're only gonna go a little higher.
It's only going to, it's within the maximum height of a building. It's only because in the front, you want to go to that, you saw the waiver picture. It's only because of that little piece in the front that we have any height issues at all. There, right. Here, the whole problem with height, the whole problem with height is this red area over here. It's because it's in the front setback. Sure. The 1 story? Yeah. Because in the front? No, there's no one. In the middle? I'm going to give you a lesson in zoning. I've been doing this for many years. There's a requirement of a rear yard. However, a 1-story up to 23 feet in height is a permitted obstruction in a rear yard. So since that is the rear yard between the 2 buildings, the 1-story, it also provides us continuity between the 2 wings of the building.
CV 11 members, questions? I have a question. How many students will you be housing?
That's my wife. How many? You want to?
Approximately 500 students. Grades from nursery till junior high, like 8th grade.
Anyone else from CV? Jeff? Oh.
How are the school buses going to be handled on that block? Are they going to be layover?
They're going to drop off the kids, and we have a parking lot. Where is the parking lot? The 50. Yeah, but they're in a lot.
So when the school is closed, there'll be no buses in front of the building?
No, there's no buses in front of the building.
And where will the entrance to the school be?
But one on 52nd, on 62nd, and one on 63rd.
So you'll have an entrance on both streets?
This way, they won't.
And you'll
take
have
too
buses
long.
on both of those streets?
For the short time in the morning or in the evening. That's it. The rest of the day, there's no traffic.
Well, there is traffic on 63rd.
I know, but not from the school.
No, but there is normal
Right.
traffic on 63rd.
Right.
You put the buses on 63rd, I mean, those are side streets. They're not that wide. You have buses on the streets, cars cannot go past.
But it's only for a
All
short
right.
time in the morning.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff, because that just led me to one of the questions I had, and that was one of the concerns, was about 63rd Street with the traffic that's already on that block, nothing to do with the school, of course. Would it be possible to use 62nd Street as your main form of egress? I'm not saying to cut out 63rd entirely, I'm just saying to use 62nd primarily.
It's mainly the high school.
62nd Street is the main entrance that we're going to be using. That's why it's even a nicer entrance. The main entrance is going to be 62nd Street. And only for junior high, we're going to use the 63rd Street, but mainly it's 62nd.
Do I have any questions or comments from CV members? Do you have a question? The question is, how high are the two buildings right now? It's not in there.
Because the buildings are being demolished, so they weren't part of the equation. They're higher than 23 feet, that I can tell you. Yeah, yeah.
Any questions, comments? CB members, anything? We just talked about, you mean about
There's
students?
no,
For teachers?
nobody, everybody is coming by the school buses, and the buses are being removed during the day.
No, they're talking about the teachers, the staff.
Teachers are either coming with the school bus or walking. It's not that far. There is no parking. There's no required parking, and nobody.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone. It's been
Thank
a wonderful evening.
So at this point, I'm going to ask the CB members to let's have a discussion about this so we can make a recommendation to the full board, which is Thursday night. So, what? CB members, comments, discussion, thoughts?
Yeah, it's less of an issue than like our one. Yes.
Without pulling up the block itself, that block is controlled by, I believe it's no parking, trucks loading, unloading. And so you don't have parking there, right, on the block. So I am sure that the employees are not going to want to come and suffer like the rest of us looking for parking. No. However, the Department of Transportation, as part of their school utilization, they will come out and make recommendations for the safety of the students.
One of those streets does have their trucking, or what? I know it's on 63rd or 62nd.
He's on 63rd.
He's a big depot.
He has a lot, and they should be off street. I don't
No, I
think.
see trucks on the street. There's trucks, but this, I mean, it's not clear. On the street, instead of the one.
Right, because it's trucks loading, unloading there. I understand. I understand. It's a bit of a challenge, that manufacturing area, but I am sure that once a new tenant, whether it's the school or whoever else, they will have to move.
They got used to it. There's nobody there.
Correct.
I'm concerned about the neighbors.
It's really a manufacturing use there. However, I'll use the microphone. It is a manufacturing use up towards, not so much at 17th Avenue and 63rd, because you have the truck rental on that side. On this side, you have the old food distributor, your property. And then as you go up, it does become more manufacturing use. But the other side, I believe we have a new synagogue that's being built. We have other religious uses there. So it's kind of transitioning. Right, it's not residential on 17th Avenue by us is. I think on 63rd, off the top of my head, there are two houses between the warehouses. Am I correct, Mr. Friedman? And at 4, right, in between, and that's it, that's it. Right. Right, so there's not much. Correct. No. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. They're seeking a special permit to permit a school. Right. The other variance is really minor in nature. We're not talking about a 6-story building, we're talking about top security.
We have a meeting on Thursday night, so it's being made a recommendation tonight. Present something to the board. Thursday, we have to dispose of it. No, we have, Georgette, Andrews, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Which is what we need 7. No. So, I'm going to ask you to have, Seal, to take a position.
If they put some nice potted plants and some trees outside, that would really clean it up. Yes. Outside, they could put some nice trees, some grass, you know. Yeah. Why? It's really fun.
And then to have the kids do some planting,
Yeah, that's what I said.
Did you make the main entrance 62nd?
It is.
63rd. Building up. I'm concerned about the safety. No. Only junior high. Eighth grade, 11th grade.
The main entrance, you know.
So what are the concerns while you have the entrance there? Will those older children be utilizing bus service?
Again, much less than about 40, 50 kids.
Only 40, 50, so you're talking about one bus.
Right. He's not having that pressure of local kids coming in the morning.
You're on that 63rd enrollment in junior high, 40 to 50 kids that are enrolled in bus. two provisos, is that we reiterate about 62nd versus 63rd, and about, we want trees and plantings.
I definitely want to see that. Green,
Green would be.
Yeah.
So, it's okay.
All right.
Thanks very much.
Very good.